So I'm standing here with Jeff and Michelle from Southampton Homestead, and I'd just like to ask Jeff and Michelle to tell us a little bit about what they're trying to do here.
Yeah. Our hashtag, I suppose, Farm of 500 Years. We've come to this valley with a longer view, I suppose. And when we looked at food, the state of food and the state of food production in the world, in many of the industrial systems, there was just a response that was needed. And when we don't ever consider that we can impact or change some of the large problems that we see both in landscape management but also in food production, what we can do and what we could do and what we set out to do was provide an alternative model to challenge that view, where the key, rather than a dominant paradigm of growth, the paradigm was of sustainability and scale and fixed scale. So rather than have, one enormous farm, we could have quite a few families farming in an identical way, at lower intensity, lower impact, which is healthy for our landscape, it's healthy for the animals, and it's healthier for the human ecosystem that sort of grows up around it. So we chose poultry because we're a small farm, and poultry are small livestock, so you can have a herd of 3,000 when they're all the size of a soccer ball. So and also because poultry was one of those very it's a highly consumed, desired sort of form of protein for people that we don't consider as being farmed well. There's a lot of pathology in that system, whether that's the mental health of the people in the system, the mental health of the animals in that system, or the ecological health of the environments in which those farms, those industrial feedlots are housed. So yeah, we have, we drew a line in the sand. We have farmed like that for 6 years. We produced a lot of food in that time. We nourished a lot of families. The feedback and the partnering with the community was incredible. And we did that all out of the ashes of a very bad fire here. As you know, in Australia, we've been beset by a rapidly changing, drying climate, and a lot of the landscape you see behind us is pyrophytic, so highly flammable oils in the plants. It is easy for them to burn, and then we're seeing that increasingly. So our initiative to farm here was also to create a model of landscape that could occur within the Australian context, and particularly the use of vegetation on an agricultural landscape that is fire suppressant. And that's why at the moment and for the last few years we've been extensively planting exotic species. And of course the conflict in values again between conservation values, we should always plant native trees. In Australia, the community is actually waking up and having this conversation of, are native trees the best things to plant around human communities and around animal and agricultural assets? And the answer, of course, is no, because they burn. And so, yeah, we've been planting extensively exotic varieties, fire suppressant varieties, and those are poplar, those are mulberry, those are oak, which are also phyto varieties of animals for an agricultural landscape. So, conservation values here behind us and agricultural values here in front of us. So, yeah, it's a long-term plan, and part of our recovery from the fire that devastated the farm in 2013 is our own recovery. And we lost our home in that fire, and it sits and looks at us every day. And so we've decided to take a pause in the farming and in the food production. The farm is in a holding pattern, and we're rebuilding our home and taking time out to do that. It's part of the long plan, and we're planting trees and nourishing ourselves and continuing with our holistic management with the pastures and grazing the animals, and looking forward to getting back into farming once we're ready for that next part of the journey. Anything to add? Come on.
Only that, I suppose, the other part of this, so the front end side of things around our landscape management and food production. At the other end of things, we also built a small scale poultry abattoir here. So the birds were not only raised here in the you know, a more natural way that we can do within a system farming omnivores, but they also were harvested on our farm. So, you know, the sort of, what is it, the paddock to sort of harvest was a few hundred metres. And yeah, that really gave us a lot of great insights, even more into the farming, but also into valuing and really honouring the food that was actually produced here when you sort of handle it. And then we handed it over to the customers, either through direct buying groups that we set up or through farmers markets, where we had wonderful support from an extensive community. And the other part to that community is our community of practice. So we've been, you know, chatting a bit today about regrarians, about the holistic management community, about other regenerative agriculture farmers, and yeah, just our tribe in that regard. And it's global and it's online as well as in person, and both of those have been extremely valuable and valid to us, and critical. And we've had also the privilege of visiting some of those farms in those global communities, so it's great when all of that comes full circle as well. So that's been another part of what we've been doing on a constant learning journey, and also trying to share as much as we can with others in the way that we can make it accessible, sharing when things go wrong too, as well as when things have gone right and really worked for us. Both of those are important.
Thank you very much.